Nikola Jokic's 29 points were merely the third highest total in this game, but that was a huge three he hit in overtime. The Nuggets knocked down all four of their three-point attempts, while Utah turns it over on four straight possessions. That was the difference in an OT after a brilliant duel between Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell. And welcome in to Playoff Central Live. Matt Weiner, you see the Hall of Famer Isiah Thomas with us here as well as Denver takes a 1-0 lead on the Utah Jazz after a 135-125 overtime win. And Zeke, if this is how playoff basketball works in the bubble, seal it off now, right? For all future games.
Absolutely. And not only is this how it works in the bubble, but again, Matt, we talked before the show about how guys play in August, how teams play in the summer, how players play in the summer. And this is reminiscent of a summer league pickup game. Zero defense, all offense, great performances, going into overtime. I thought Murray and Nikola were great. I thought Mitchell was awesome. And as you said, Matt, if this is how it's going to be, then sign me up, sign everybody up, because this is going to be must-see playoff action night in and night out.
Well, Denver dominated the overtime period, but let's talk a little bit about the history we saw from Donovan Mitchell. 57 points, the third most in NBA playoff history. And for most of this game, Denver's defense was essentially a buffet for him. He just had choices. He could do pretty much whatever he wanted.
You know, and again, Matt, you pointed out at the start of the game how Denver was last in defense in the bubble. And we thought that their defense would step up, but it really didn't show up until that overtime period where they were able to create a couple turnovers. But I thought Mitchell, as you say, he had his way with him early. He was getting to the basket. Then he got, you know, as Jonesy said, he got fish grease hot. And once he got hot, he basically had his way with Denver's defense. I thought he was able to probe. I thought he was able to, you know, put them in pick and roll. Nikola had a difficult time getting up on those screens. And once Mitchell started knocking down threes, they tried to double him a little bit, but that was still ineffective. And, you know, as Murray said, you know, at the end of the game, you don't realize when somebody, you know, they're having a good game, but you didn't realize, he probably didn't realize Mitchell was putting up those many numbers. And you saw his reaction at the end when he said, damn, he got 57?
That kind of sums it up. Let's take folks through the end of this game. Folks maybe working. It is a Monday afternoon, right? Maybe didn't see all of this. Here's how it played out down the stretch. This incredible duel between Murray and Donovan Mitchell. There's Jamal Murray feeling it late as he steps back behind the three-point line. And then one more time, Murray, this time a little closer in, still counts. Denver up by 2. Look at this stop and pop shot from Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, it's just beautiful basketball that we were watching between Murray, Mitchell, and Nikola. And, you know, I thought that was a big defensive stop by Rudy. I thought he recovered. You know, the shot fake is one of the best moves in basketball, but Rudy recovered fine from it.
I thought both big men played that really well, and ultimately Gobert just got the stop. And then overtime, all Denver's way. Monte Morris knocks down that corner three, and the floodgates sort of opened up for Denver here a little bit. Murray's still feeling it. 20 of his 36 came after the third quarter. Knocks down that one to give him an 8-point cushion. And then Murray, two-man game. You heard Doris Burke talk about it during the game. It's a lot of what Denver does late in tight ball games, playing off their two best players, Murray to Jokic for that three that basically put it away for Denver. And the Nuggets hang on to take a 1-0 lead in this series, 135-125. Mitchell with that historic 57 to go with 9 boards and 7 assists. Murray, 36 and 9 assists, 36 points, I should say, and 9 assists. And here he was immediately after the game.
Jamal, this game was tied with 26 seconds left in the regular game. What made the difference in overtime?
We were just aggressive, and it was back. Yeah, what, 57?
He did,
damn,
sir.
D. No, he was killing us, and we couldn't get a stop, so we had to find some offense. And we just ran a 2-minute game. We went with what was comfortable that we do down the stretch, and able to find a win. But you got to give them credit, man. No bogey, no Conley, and they kept fighting, so good game.
So what were the discussions in that huddle to stop him cooking with hot grease, the way Mark Jones said on the broadcast?
I think the discussions was both on the same side. They were trying to come up with their two-man game. We were trying to come up with ours. So, it was a good battle. That was a fun game. That was a really fun game. And
finally, Jamal, you've now played inside the bubble and outside the bubble in the playoffs. What is the difference playing in here?
It's competitive. It's really competitive. And that's where you see the greats step out. Donovan Mitchell, I'm going to keep saying he had 57. And we're just going back at it. Who got more bullets? And so it was us. And I think it was just great team performance. We stuck with it for OT, and we did what we had to do.
Really kind of a fun attitude from Jamal Murray. You obviously appreciated the duel. It's easier to appreciate when you're on the winning side of things. But I think you're right about the atmosphere. I think it is a little different feel down there right now.
Yeah, it definitely is. It really is just it's the bubble and it's playoff atmosphere, but it's really like summer league in terms of the way the guys are relaxed, the way they're playing, and the way they're having a good time. And you really will see some of their best basketball coming out. And watching Murray and Nikola in the two-man game, it reminded me so much of Lambeer and I. Coach Malone, his father coached me. Lambeer and I, at the end of every game, we would run high screen and roll, side screen and roll. Lambeer was great at picking and popping, knocking down shots. I could drive it. In those last 5 minutes of the overtime, what you saw was pick and roll, old Piston style, changing the angle, whether it be step up, whether it be high pick and roll, side pick and roll. Murray and Nikola, I thought they were very difficult to stop and played it about as well as can be played.
A skilled big man and a scoring guard always makes for a difficult combination for defenses to deal with, and you saw it late in this game. Utah couldn't deal with it, and they're on the short end of a 10-point loss. Speaking of Coach Malone, Michael Malone, who seems exasperated with his team about a quarter of the time. Now speaking to the media after taking a 1-0 lead.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started here and open up for questions. We'll start with Katie Wingy. Katie, go ahead.
Coach, what are you most proud of your team-wise in this win?
I'm most proud in that we didn't get down on ourselves. I loved our first half. Katie, I thought we played very well on both sides. The third quarter, they came out 7-0 run and dominated us in the third quarter on both ends. But we regrouped. We talked about it going into the fourth quarter. We had a bad quarter. Let's forget about it. Let's get back to playing our brand of basketball. And obviously, defensively, we were just okay, but offensively, 37 points. So I'm just more proud of our resiliency, not getting down, staying together. And it was fun to watch us, come back in that fourth quarter, have a chance to win it with a great look by Nikola. And then in overtime, just the Jamal Murray show. He scored 20 points in the fourth quarter and overtime combined. He was phenomenal. And like we talked about coming in, we know this is going to be a hard-fought series. Every game goes down to the wire, and today was another example of that.
All right, next question. We'll go to Mike Singer. Mike, go ahead.
Hey, Michael, you said numerous times how much you guys feed off of Jamal's energy. You called it the Jamal Murray show. Did you see him reach potentially new heights in that overtime?
Yeah, I don't know, new heights, but we're growing accustomed to seeing that from him and Nikola. We don't win the game without those two playing their two-man game, playing off of each other and making play after play after play. And every time he shot it, it was like you knew it was going in. He was shooting into a very big basket. And then obviously in the overtime, we scored 20, they only scored 10. We forced 4 turnovers, our activity level. Donovan Mitchell's a tough cover. He is a great player. We have to do a better job, obviously, but you have to give him credit as well. I guess the Utah-Denver matchup didn't excite a lot of people around the league. They put us at the 1:30 game on the Oxygen Network, but I think we showed them that it's a hell of a series. It's far from being done, and these other games today, I'm sure we'll see more great games, but we lost to Portland in Game 7 463 days ago. So it's been 463 days since our last playoff game. It's great to get back and be in a playoff environment, even without the fans. You could feel the intensity. You could feel every possession mattering. And it was fun to be a part of that. Great that we came out on the winning side, but there is still a lot of basketball to be played.
All right, we'll go to Mike Singer again. Mike, go ahead.
Is this time for one more?
Almost, Coach, almost.
All right.
If you want.
Okay.
It can be. So, did you feel like in that overtime session that the game flipped, the momentum flipped when you guys had you forced 3 consecutive turnovers against the Jazz? Is that where it was sort of hanging in the balance? Is that where you saw it just flip?
Yeah, I think a really important point that you're making, because we had the last shot of regulation. We run it all the way down, make sure we take the last shot, and Nikola gets a great look, a shot that he's made 1,000 times. Coming out of the overtime huddle, all right, they win the tap, and to your point, Mike, we forced 4 turnovers in 5 minutes. And for them to not score the first couple of possessions, I know somebody somewhere has got a crazy stat that the team that scores first in overtime wins at a very high rate. Somebody somewhere has that readily available. I don't, but I know it's a high percentage. And I think that our defense kind of got us going. And then obviously Jamal and Nikola did the rest. But yeah, proud of our guys. It's fun to be on the winning side of a game, but we understand that this series is far from over and we have a lot of work to be done.
All right, last and final question. We'll go to Mark Kisley again. Mark, go ahead.
I want to follow on that defense. We've talked all since the resumption of the season about you guys getting your defense back. So I'll go specifically to this. Jeremy Grant, how well he defended Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, well, obviously, you have to tip your hat to Donovan. As I mentioned before, his 57 points is 57, so he's a great player. We tried Torrey Craig. Torrey got in foul trouble. So Jeremy Grant is our second on the Donovan Mitchell depth chart. And you know what Jeremy has is he's got tremendous size, length, and a willingness to go out there and guard the other team's best player. So I think having those 2 guys guard their best player is something that we can rely upon. And once again, it's tough to say that we did a great job when he had 57, but over and over, I think maybe we wore him down a little bit at the end because he carried an extremely large load for that team today. But we're going to count on Torrey and Jeremy to continue to be our best matchups on Donovan Mitchell moving forward.
All right, Coach, that'll do it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach. Nice going in.
Michael Malone there. Yeah, that sums up where Jamal Murray was. Remember that guy from The Last Dance? Part of Michael Jordan's security group. Let's get to Quinn Snyder.